Welcome to the Goddesses of Social Work podcast, hosted by Renita Ray Davis, licensed clinical social worker, board-approved social work clinical supervisor, and facilitator of the Goddesses of Social Work supervision community. Join us as we travel through the social work journeys told by the Goddesses of Social Work community members, past and present, as they make their way toward clinical licensure.
Welcome to the Goddesses of Social Work podcast. I'm your host, Renita Ray Davis, and I'm here today with Princella Seymour. Princella Seymour's 30-year career has solidified her as a preeminent expert on solutions for the aging, the heartbeat of her mission, love, family, and dignity. As a national advocate for revolutionizing elder care and transforming confusion into clarity, she has served as vice president of the 120,000 plus member National Association of Social Workers, and as well as historically being a part of the Aging Life Care Association. Her new book, Everything You Need to Know About Me, is born from decades of experience witnessing the heartache and confusion families face when trying to honor their loved ones' wishes without having the necessary information. It is currently available on Amazon, and we'll make sure you have the link in the podcast description. As CEO of Complete Elder Solutions, Princella has helped thousands. She and her team ensure that families never have to navigate the complexities of aging alone and provide personalized solutions that honor the dignity of every individual. Princella has a bachelor's degree in social work from Florida Atlantic University and a master's degree in social work from Florida International University. Welcome to the show.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. I love it. It's a beautiful Thursday. Thank you for having me on.
It is a beautiful Thursday, isn't it? And we
It
are
is.
so glad that you said yes. And I just got to tell you, wow, on your bio. What an amazing bio. And particularly, wow, on being the vice president of the NASW. I often talk to social workers I have the honor of supervising about the importance of being a member of professional organizations in social work, especially the NASW. We have a lot of students and newer social workers who are listening to this podcast. Do you mind sharing with our audience what the NASW is and why do you feel it's important to be a member?
Yes. After being in social work for over 30 years, a new social worker, you definitely want to join any and all organizations. From these organizations, you will learn new education, obviously. In social work, you're constantly learning, or you should want to be learning. The industry involved, it changes, and it's the dynamics. And joining an association like NASW, you will get the opportunity to learn about the new changes in the industry no matter what population you decide to choose, whether it's geriatrics, drug and addiction, HIV, you will just be afforded the awareness benefits. It also offers benefits. Your insurance, especially as a newcomers, you want to make sure you're insured. Okay, you will have conventions where you can learn other like-minded individuals. I call it the motivation moment, where one inspire the other because, so often social workers, sometimes I don't think we get the credit that we really are because sometimes they think we're just baby takers or we're just, going to someone's house to visit and write scripts, but we are really life changers. We really are. And so you are as great to your client as the knowledge that you have. And you'll get that in NSW. Okay. The more you fuel your soul and your mind with, the more you can give out. And that's what you want to do because you're in the industry to help. And, I wanted to phrase this thing of, oh, social workers don't make any money. You will make a lot of money because you will solve everyday problems. And so, money, for me, wealth is not money. It's the power of what you've changed. That's wealth. That's wealth. So for my new social workers out there, join. Make sure you become a part of some networking association. It will definitely give you what you need as far as partnerships and education again. Everything you need is really housed in that association.
Absolutely. You know what? We did kind of, I steered us to the new social workers, but while you were talking, I was thinking, how can we get older social workers or those who've been in the field a long time and didn't know that they should be joining the NASW? How what advice would you have for maybe even, midlife social workers like myself who
We,
who should
you know
join?
what? It's the same phrase I would say. It's always growing and learning and knowing. Because there's gonna
Mhm.
always be something out there different. It's gonna be something or some like when we have the conventions. Someone came this year that didn't come next year. And it's fueling, it's educating, it's empowering, it's learning. So and most of your parents or most of us, you're never too old to grow. No,
Right.
no never too old to learn, right? So I like to stay around like circles, like minded. And honestly, I like the millennials, I like the young ones because they help. It's something so simple. They're like, did you know you can do it this way? They're always able to teach us something. So we learn and glean off each other. So the older ones could help the new ones, possibly, right?
That's it.
Right?
Hmm.
We can help bring them up and really be that mentor or that example for them. So even our age group, we need to stay around and kind of help bring them up and raise the standard for them. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons I love the NASW is because I'm so grateful to be able to be licensed in multiple states. I know we have the interstate compact coming up, but before we do all of that, there's many of us who've been licensed, especially after the pandemic in
Hmm.
multiple states. And what the NASW has done for me is trying to hold on to my CEUs and try, like,
Hmm.
I'm in Alabama, I'm licensed in Idaho, I'm licensed in
Hmm.
Colorado, and specifically those states have specific CEUs for those states. But
Hmm.
NASW, it doesn't matter if I go to that website and they have something on Alzheimer's and all the different
And take it
topics. By the way,
right.
any
Hmm.
CEU that I take with the NASW, it matches every single state that I'm
Everything.
licensed
Everything.
in.
Hmm.
And so I
Hmm.
don't have to worry about, oh, does this match Idaho? Does this match Alabama?
Exactly.
NASW, if it has NASW CEU and it's a topic I'm interested in, then
Hmm.
I'm taken care of and I don't have to worry about it. So that to me, in and of itself, has been the best benefit of being a member of the NASW.
Exactly, exactly. And it connects you to smaller associations like in South Florida, being the
Hmm.
president also of National Social Work Association, which is a different scale. So you can go in smaller little groups as well and learn a lot of things there. Like you said, your CEOs are offered in different settings, different, and I can't emphasize it enough. Growing is all going and growing is always. You're only as good to your client as what you know. If you don't put anything in, you can't have deliverables for the person on the other side of the table. It's impossible.
I love that. And, I remember when I was teaching, and I think the field placement classes, competency number one was lifelong learner.
Like,
Like, you have to be a lifelong learner. When we signed up to be social workers, we said we were going to be lifelong learners, and so NASW sets you up for success in doing that. So
right,
yeah,
right.
I
Yes.
bet that was an experience, and I hope that you're going to share that experience as you talk to us about your journey. So, as you know, Princella, the Guys as a Social Work is about our social work journeys. And as the powerhouse of the Complete Elder Solutions and as America's Solutionist for the aging community, I'm curious, how did you become and learn about social work?
You know what? For some of us, social work is innate, just like parenting. Mother, for the most part, when you have a baby, nobody have to wake you up and teach you how to be a mother. You have that child and it's there, right? So it's innate. So I would say social work for me and the aging population was innate. It was purpose driven. It was something that I when I really began to work a little bit more in the aging population, I realized I've been doing this since I was probably 9 or 10 years old. Because back in the 70s, it was a village in the community.
Mhm.
Everyone, you knew your next door neighbor, your next door neighbor knew you. They could discipline you. You were safe, right? So I started my journey. I wouldn't say 9 to 10 years old serving that population. and you ask, how in the world could you do that? I would, hey, can you go to the store for me? I'd make a quarter or 10 cents for going to the store. Or can you help me wash dishes today because my knee is hurting? Not knowing that 30, 40 years later, I'd still be in this career because it was a career for me. That's how I got my money to go to the corner store and play Pac-Man because Pac-Man had come out in the 70s, right? So you'd earn, different things, and this is really a true story. I would do those things, Renata, and so you say, how did you get involved? So from 9, 10, 11 years old, from the time I graduated high school, I went right into geriatrics. But I didn't know what I really wanted to be when I grew up, so I started nursing. So I was a CNA at 18 years old, 19 years old. That was what I chose to do as opposed to going to the 4-year college. I really didn't understand college. My girlfriends had gone off, and my mom, I come from a family with no education. So this woman, an elderly woman, told me about CNA, and I listened to her because she was someone I looked up to. And I realized I liked the population, but I'm not sure if I wanted to stay in the more of the 101. So I decided to become a nurse, an LPN. And then that was short lived. My longest career was social work.
Mhm.
Right after that, I got a job I used to work in house as a case manager, and the company was closing and making changes. And I was invited to become a social worker in a nursing home in the early 2000s. And I remember walking through the hall and said, this is my purpose and this is my niche. And it changed everything. That's when I changed my major from business administration to social work. And I loved it so much, I decided I want to become an MSW. And then I decided, let me join the dual program, maybe in the JD program. And then I got a little bun in the oven, and she kind of changed everything. And so, but I worked with the geriatrics and social workers, as a director of social services. I went and got my license to become an administrator because I wanted to know and educate myself. So when I'm talking with families, I understand the dynamics. I understand a hospital discharge. I understand going or making a decision going into an assisted living and why to choose that assisted living. I understand what you're going to go through in a nursing home, under rehab. So all those things from 9 years old, to answer your question, evolved and actually brought me to this moment where I love social work and really can't think of anything else to do but social work or
I,
help families or be a voice for the families to help articulate what that social worker is really saying in the hospital. When she's saying it's time for discharge, or when you're in a nursing home and they're telling you, I do simplify it. And so that was my journey from being a candy girl, going to the store, washing dishes for the elderly in the community. That's been my journey. And that's something that I truly believe God innately gave me. It's effortless. So it's not something that I feel like, oh, this is great and I can do it and it was an easy degree. No, I am like that mother. I'm innately built to do social work and to give advice and to help people.
I love that. And you know what? So many people, social workers I've met have said that. Like they feel like it's a calling. Do you feel like
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's a calling, exactly.
Yeah.
Anytime you can do it for free without money, it's a calling. And
Mm,
you want to be in a career. It's something I teach my daughter all the time. Work in your calling because it's something you're going to do forever. You don't want to wake up and make $1 million and miserable to wake up to because that's not wealth, that's misery.
absolutely.
Mhm.
I was thinking something. I literally saw a TikTok. One of my clients sent me. She said, "Don't work in the thing that you're passionate about," and I was like, "No," but then it's absolutely, you wake up and you made the money in the career, but you're miserable. And so to be able to find a career in social work where we were just talking before we hit record. I was like, this aging and Alzheimer's space is new to me. What I know is social work, and we were talking. What I know to be true about social workers, like you could do this for a few years, you can do HIV for a few years, you can do children, youth, and families for a few years, you could do, you know, couples therapy for a couple. You can do all these different things.
Mhm.
And if the core is you're following this calling, you get to learn and experience diverse practices within the field of social work.
Mhm. Mhm. I love it. Yes. Yes.
And you're also not the first person. I recently was talking to one of the social workers and was reading her bio, and she says, I've been a social worker 45 out of the 47 years I've been alive. Like
Mm.
from birth, you just kind of know that
Kind
this
of.
is what you're supposed to be doing. And
Mhm.
so
And that's amazing. Isn't that amazing?
mhm.
I love the space. I love the space of knowing
Oh,
because I can
yeah.
tell you so many people, they still don't know. So I love the space of knowing.
And then to be able to do so many diverse things in that knowing just feels like a
Mhm.
gift. It feels like a gift. I'm curious. So, okay, you're a social worker, but now you're also known as America's Solutionist for the aging community. How did you get that title?
You know what? I got that title honestly just from providing solutions. I realize I provide solutions. We may not be able to change the moment, but we can eventually work on a solution. And so in the office, I made sure that when any client or any family member call, always be solution focused. Try to find it. And at that moment, if your only solution is to decrease anxiety, because they're calling in our office, they're calling because it's that life changing moment. Okay. So if the situation can't change at the moment, you can solve it by decreasing that anxiety by 50% at least, calming them down, providing answers as much as you possibly can. So I came in it because someone actually said, wow, that was, you solved my problem. That was the answer. And there I became known literally as the solutions. I was no longer your social worker. This is my solution. Let me call her. Let me call this organization. And so it happened overnight. I have to tell you, I'm a very honest person. So it happened overnight. And literally, again, now I'm on platforms like yours. And again, thank you so much for having me to be here, just to be able to be a voice and say to the families and to my fellow social workers, we provide solutions all the time. That's who we are. If you want to define social workers, I defined it as by solutions. We're solutions and we're problem solvers. And if you're focused and you're driven there, you're going to be just like myself, the solutionist.
You
It's
know
as
what?
simple as
That
that.
is so, when you're talking, there's two things I was thinking, and maybe I'll mention both, but if we only just get the one, you said it happened overnight, but really did it though? You had been finding solutions for people for year, day after day, week after week. It really did. You had built that up.
It is so true.
Yeah.
You're so right. So yeah, let me scratch that for the record because nothing. Usually, it doesn't happen overnight. These things are foundations, and so it happened from 9 years, or let's say 10. So we make it easy for math for us, right?
Yeah.
45 years ago. This is 45 years in the making of nothing but talking and answering any questions and providing solutions all the day, every day when I wake up,
Yeah.
constantly, every day. And it's time to now for it just dawned on me that you know what, it's time to reposition yourself now. Not only a social worker, but just allow people to know I'm going to get emotional in a few minutes to let people know that there is help. Somebody out there can help you
Mm.
in the industry and in the population. I just happen to be in geriatrics. And when what you know is what you know. And I would say stick to what you know best. But I'm getting emotional because it's the truth. People need to know. If I can just let you feel what's coming out of me now. So I don't I don't praise being a socialist, but When people call, sometimes, Renita, I may not even know the answer and it'll just come out. That's a gift from above. It'll just come out, out of nowhere, thin air, so to
Mhm.
say. It'll just come from out of nowhere. And it literally is the moment or the thing that you need to hear at that moment. Literally. And it's truth and it's facts. It's no guessing. It just comes from within. And all that I have and I know, I just pour it out. And that's how we got here. That's really how we, being my authentic self, being the helper, being that person that I always tell clients or families, if I don't have the answer, I'm going to get it. Because there's someone walking around with the answer. If you would allow me to do that. And they go like, yeah. And so still you're the solutionist because you found that answer, not at the moment, but you found it. And so that it gives me great joy to be in a position to be able to help people, to help families, caregivers. I'm honored again.
And I think that may even be why the solution comes to you so fast, because you
Mm,
do have that you feel honored. You feel the graciousness of being like, I just feel so honored that I am able to provide that solution for families. And then so when we're feeling that gratitude, we get more of it, right? We
yes.
gratitude attracts more and more and
Mm-hmm.
more. And so
Mm-hmm.
here you are grateful to be able to find that solution. So then God, I'll say, says, "Oh, you like that? Let me give you more. You
Give me
like
more.
that? Let me give you more." And the
Mm-hmm.
other thing, that second thought that I was having was there's always a solution. I love what you said. It might, they might be calling you, tell me what nursing home to put my mama in. And, they're panicking and maybe a crisis. She just fell or something that just
Mm-hmm.
happened. But your solution that you had been given was, let me decrease this anxiety by 50%. And in decreasing or diminishing that anxiety for 50%, which is the solution in that moment, then allows that family member to have clarity
Think
of
clear.
mind and be like, oh,
Yes.
wait a minute. I just
Make a
had to
better decision.
make a
Yes.
better decision. Let me slow
Mm-hmm.
down. Let me breathe. And that's the solution. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I think, especially as we know how we started this conversation about what would we tell younger social workers. Sometimes I think, we come out of our BSW or MSW programs and we think we have to know all the answers. Answers and
Mm-hmm.
solutions are two different things, first and
Yes.
foremost. But then,
Exactly.
second, you don't have to have the answer for everything. You don't have to have the answer you think you have to have, meaning it could be, again, diminishing the anxiety by 50%, not necessarily, oh, I have the perfect nursing home for your mama. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like it could be that's the answer. And then thinking about our new social workers, like, oh, I didn't tell them exactly this particular nursing home. But babe, did you realize because you diminished that anxiety by 50%, you
Mm-hmm.
allowed the family to be the expert in their lives, and then they were
Mm-hmm.
able to create their own answer for their family member. So you
Mm-hmm.
actually did have the answer,
Mm-hmm.
but not the
That
answer you
anxiety
think.
being decreased means
Yeah.
a good night's sleep. Because
Yes.
sometimes they'll call and say, I haven't slept all night. I've been
Hmm.
waiting, this has been bothering me. So that in itself sometimes give them a good night's sleep. You
Yeah.
thought about that? A
Yeah.
good night's sleep because they were concerned. And today we don't even have to make that decision. We don't even have a discharge. So for right now, let me just hear you out. Let me hear you out. And it's gonna be okay. And yeah, it's gonna be okay. Go to sleep tonight. And they go like, really? Really it's gonna be okay? Yeah, it's gonna be okay. We'll make the right decision. But we can't make a good decision now in this state. We can't. Because now we're making it out of anxiety and impromptu. And you don't want to do this. This is life changing. This is something that's gonna happen for a long time. So why don't we give ourselves at least 24 hours to come back? So sometimes you have to grab them in that direction. They go like, yeah, really? Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
again, too, so thinking about our social workers who think they have to have this right answer of this particular tangible solution, holding space, like what you just said, let me just hear you out. Let me hear what you are anxious about. Holding
Mm-hmm.
space for that family is the solution in that moment as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just the
Exactly.
holding space. And
Just the holding
yeah,
space.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Yes.
that.
I love
I
it too.
love it. I'm wondering, in your work, especially with the aging, I guess I want to ask it's a bifold question. One, I think we got it a little bit, but maybe you can even get clear. How did you become so entrenched in the aging population that you are historically known as being a part of the Aging Life Care Association. And in that, what what have you learned about the misconceptions or the misunderstandings about people who are aging?
Okay, so let me answer the first portion.
Yeah.
I get results. That's how I became known. Getting results.
Mm,
Okay. So I'm result driven, result oriented. You got to get results. Okay. People got to trust you. People do business with who they know, like, and trust, right? So once you can build those three things, that's how I got there. It was now it's if I said it, then that means this is the way it's going to happen. But it's all because of results. Now, I didn't say that sometimes you get the results today on that phone call, but you got to provide some results, okay? You've got to provide integrity. You've got to have honesty, love. They've got to feel that. And so that's what I've been known for. Most of the time when I'm on the phone with someone, if they get me, they'll say, I heard what I needed to hear within the first sentence. I know this is what I need, and it's not sales, it's what we have to do and what we need to do. So it's result, it's definitely results driven, for sure, without a doubt. Before you can be known of anything, you gotta be able to be trust known, and people will know. People can feel the energy if you're going through the motions or if you're just really into this career because you want to be in this career.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, people will definitely know it right away, right away, because they won't connect with you. Got to learn how to connect. And if you can connect with them, they'll begin to work with you and they'll begin to trust you and you can get results, because you can't get results with someone that don't trust you. And
right,
it's going to come somewhere in the interview because you're going to feel that you're not sure, you're uncertain, and it's okay not to be sure. Let them know that you're not
right.
sure. It's okay, but let them know as well.
I'm wondering, did you feel once you knew that that was it for you, like you're result driven, did
Mhm.
you feel any internal pressure or even external pressure to be result driven, or how did you handle that part of your characteristic?
Well, it means a lot to me, and Renita, and I'll tell you the truth. I get joy when I know I've had my deliverables.
Mhm.
Okay, and my adrenaline, I like literally get high off of it, and so I'll say to them, I feel good that this turned out X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
It's important to me because the services that we provide, they're not free. So if you pay for it, you need to get results. So much so it's in our contract in our company. If we can't, you get your money back. I don't have to refund, but I stand by that policy
I love
because
that
we
you
have
said
to.
I don't have to refund because I know I'm going to get the
I
results.
don't have to. It's there, but
Yes,
it's there because you know what? Hey, you could be that 1%, that 1%. I mean, you're never going to make everybody happy, obviously, right? So even in that moment, get results. I may not like that I had to wait 24 hours for a return phone call, but when I got that return phone call, I got what I needed. Or it may have taken X, Y, and Z time, but I got what I needed. So at the end, it was results. And you say, okay, I think, and then, and everybody's not your client. You may not connect with everybody. Everybody, and be okay with it. Be okay with it. Okay, be okay with it, because as I always tell them, we have to we have to go on this journey together. And
mhm,
so a fit is important because we're making some life changing decisions. So it has to be important. So you got to trust me. And a lot of times I tell them, listen, I know trust is a big word. We just met each other, but I'm going to need you to trust me as a professional just for 1 second. And if you feel okay this second, let's go to the next second. Let's build upon this. And then they'll do exactly what you're doing now, shaking their head, like, okay, I didn't think of it this way. Okay, yeah, if you say so. No, if we just no, it's not if I say so. If we decide together, this is what we're gonna do. Let's do it together. Okay? Because you know your mom, I don't.
right.
Or you know your dad, I don't. I'm here to go alongside you to help you make that right decision or bring results or get the solutions that you were looking for. You understand? So that's really what I've been on. Again, results. You got to be results driven. It's got to be important to you because that's what you're here for. Social work, again, results, help, solutions. That's the definition. Because you
Good.
ask that misconception
Mhm.
about aging, and I always say the biggest misconception is I can control aging and I know when it's going to happen. But aging can happen any moment because you can be 50 and aging, or you can be 90. Listen, we had a client come into the office a couple of weeks ago. I promise you, I thought the mother was actually the daughter, and the lady in the bed was her mother. So the lady in the bed was 50 and mom was 95, consenting to orders, caring for her daughter. And she looked like you and I,
Mm.
skin, beautiful. I couldn't believe it. So it's a big misconception that I can age and I have time. You don't have time to prepare when you're aging. There are certain things you want in place. So that whole idea of, or oh, that's, that's the mom. He don't know what he's talking about. No, they know what they're talking about. It's
Mhm.
real. It is real. And even with the Alzheimer's and dementia client, you'll think, oh, mom has Alzheimer's and she don't know what you're talking about. Oh, sometimes they know what they're talking about. They may have moments, okay, and it perfectly makes sense. And it's a whole world of their own that they own. You got to get in that brain and
Mhm.
understand it and own it. Okay, so there's a lot of misconceptions with the aging population. They don't know. They're uneducated. I can make the decision, or I need to make the decisions for them. Or my grandparents live to their 95, so mom's gonna probably do this to their 95. Well, honey, you don't know. You do not know. So that's what I hear a lot of, and they'll say to me, I thought I didn't know. I didn't know we needed to plan for this or definitely cost. They have no clue about cost. What healthcare really costs. What do you want your life to look like when you're at this age? And so again, you're thinking I'm going to do it, or my daughter's going to handle it for me, or it's all taken care of. Sometimes that's not the case.
And that's such a good segue into your new book. And congratulations.
Oh, well,
By the
thank you,
way,
thank you,
I
thank you.
I went and ordered it. I hadn't got it yet because
Uh-huh.
I'm doing the snail mail, but reading a little bit about what it is about. But your new book, everything you need to know about me, and you're saying with your previous answer, we don't know. And so this new book allows you to know. And
To know.
so tell us about it. Tell us about the book. What led you to write it? What do you hope your readers will carry with them after finishing it?
So this book is really my own personal experience. Number
Mm,
one, it's professional and personal. Okay, it's professional because I know what people don't know when they come in the office. I understand. When they call, I ask questions, they have no clue. And I used to think, well, gosh, you don't know that? You know what I mean? So we're going to need these answers. But it's also personal to me, Renita, because, and that help brings me back to the question you asked about aging. My sister, who is older than I am, but she's still in her 50s, I think
mhm.
she was 52 years old. So 2 years ago, she was doing her friend a very, very nice favor to pick her up. She was sitting in her car and she was gunned down. 42 bullets riddled her car. She was shot and she became critically ill, life support. I became a caregiver for her at 52 years old.
Wow.
Now, my sister, she's my only sister. So we spoke every single day, 50 times a day. Okay. If there was such thing as 50 times a day, 50 times a day. Okay. And the saddest thing is, Renita, when I had to step in and be her caregiver, I didn't even know her social security number.
Mhm.
I didn't even know where she kept it. More so, I didn't even know what kind of insurance she had. I didn't know when her bills were due. So how did I carry on her life? Now I knew what to do because I'm a professional. So I knew to look in certain spaces and look for certain things. But if you don't know, you've moved out of the house with mom and dad at 25. It's 50 years later since you actually lived in the house or actually had to handle any of their affairs. Would you really know where to start? Do you really know who mom's primary care is? Who's the specialist? Who's the attorney? Who's a financial advisor? Do you even know grandma's maiden name? If you had to unlock something and give information so that we can unlayer it, would you know that information? Most of the time we don't. And it's taken for granted. I spoke to my sister every single day, and I had to wait until she came off the ventilator to make phone calls for her because I didn't have a power of attorney in place. The professional didn't have a power of attorney in place because we're only in our 50s. That's not going to happen to me. She know what to do, right? You get sick, you can talk. But if you're on a ventilator, you can't talk to anyone. So that book, Everything You Need to Know, brings that moment where if you don't want to share it now, because a lot of times, parents, we get them all the time. Mom didn't share anything with me. Mom don't want to. She's stubborn. Or dad, you know how it is. Back in the day, they didn't talk about anything. They don't talk, and they don't want to talk about it. Or a lot of times, for out of fear, people don't talk about those things. They don't talk about end of life care. They don't. What do you want your life to look like when you can't speak or talk about it? So a lot of times, and people avoid it because it is a scary conversation. It really is. It's very scary. So that's why you want to talk about it now when things are great, when things are happy, so that when those moments come, you make it easier on your loved one. I suffered. I mean, it was painful. Do you know they were about to discharge my sister with a trach because I couldn't get to her health insurance information? I was smart enough to know what agency I needed to call to get the information, but the average caregiver wouldn't know how to gather that information. They were going to send her home because she couldn't come off the ventilator. They said, well, we're going to have to send her home on a tray and you can care for her and we'll show you how to feed her. And that moment just came down on me like a ton of bricks. Okay. And I was embarrassed because I'm in the industry and I preach it every day to people and I didn't practice what I preach. I don't mean to use those words, but it's the truth. I did not practice what I preach. And I said, this will never happen to anyone else if I can help it. And I began to actually, I started writing it as a diary. And I realized I need to put it in a book because I started writing. When I got information, I have a diary. I started logging. Okay, this is her. Oh, this is her insurance. This is the financial. This is when the mortgage is due. She owes this much here. This is her username and her password. So as I got information, I would write it down and realize it was an entire diary. And I decided to gift my audience with having this information transferred, not because it was about $1, it's because I know you're going to need it in the moment. You're going to need it. I can say that you will need it, or else you're going to be in guardianship. If my sister did not come off the ventilator anytime soon, I was going to be petitioning the court for guardianship. And here in Florida, the minimum is $10,000 to start petitioning for guardianship so that I can act on her behalf. So it's important, it's passionate, and I wanted to share that with the world to say it can happen at any moment. I was on the phone with my sister, and in less than an hour, she was gunned down. God only had it where we had to hang the phone up, because if I was on the phone, I'm sure it would have crushed me. 2 hours later, I got a call that she was in trauma. Okay, she was in trauma. So I still didn't know. She lived 3 hours away from me. I drove down, and this was a 3 week journey of the ventilator. And eventually, through prayers and the miracles, she came through. And I remember her with, when they started taking her off the ventilator, she was trying to write some things to tell me because I would ask her because she was coherent, but she was trying to write to tell me. Mind you, when they shot her, they hurt. She's paralyzed on the right side, so she writes with it. So it was all in scribbles. I can't let this happen to anyone else because the pain that's associated with trying to take care of them and figure out the person you're trying to take care of. It is important. It is important. It is important. So I say this from my soul that it's not anything to read, is informative, but it would allow you to have conversations with your children, with your grandchildren. Someone needs to take the lead and scribe. And even to our listeners, if you don't want to share the information now, hey, get the book, write it down, go put it in a safe. So, or in a safe place. So if that moment comes, all the answers and everything you want them to know about you, they will know, and you will be cared for, and they won't miss a beat, even down to end of life. How do you want it to go? What This is your moment to scribe, and you are in control during the time you cannot be in control. Because at that time she couldn't be in control. It was with the hopes that I carried out our conversations. But had I had everything in writing here, Renita, I got had I had everything here, all I had to do is open it up and just look. Life insurance, username, login, passwords, because we don't share those things with anyone. It's second nature. You log into your computer and that's it. Not even your children. You just know, Mom, go online and print something for me. Never realizing that if they needed that information, how can they get to it? And so that's how it was birthed. It was birthed out of a professional experience. Clients don't know, and it became closer to home, personal. My sister, my dear sister, and so I am on. I am out to educate and inform. Something as simple as that. If you listen to me and Miss Renita, because we're both a social worker, I promise you, you will thank us so much later. You and so again, that's that misconception. It's not going to happen. I don't need to do this right now. My son know what to do with me when what happens. We already talked about it. I promise you, the information that's in there, you probably have not even shared with your spouse. I don't have to worry about that now. You do have to worry about it now. Now is the time.
And
My
so
soul is
thank you.
crying. My soul is
Yeah.
crying talking about that because it's so
No.
real.
Thank you
It's so real.
so much for creating this book. Thank you so much for creating this book. And I'm so sorry that happened to your sister. I'm so sorry that happened to your family. And is it okay to share an update on how she is?
Oh, she's much better. She still requires a lot of care, but she's
Mhm.
much. I'll take now, as opposed to what happened 2 years ago. We
Yeah.
still have not found out who did it or why. We know she wasn't a target, and I realized quickly to turn my energy from there to here to
That
help her.
part.
And
That
so
part.
we focus. I focus on her daily. She's still very fragile. Very fragile. Had to have in-home care. I'm a caregiver.
Hmm.
I'm the financial provider. For her, and so I'm just glad she's on this side of the earth.
Yeah.
Okay, and so but she still requires 24-hour care. Of course, when you're paralyzed on one side, you can't wash and bathe. She Have you ever thought about, have you ever imagined not being able to lay on your stomach and sleep?
Mm.
She can't do that. Something we take for granted. Laying on our stomach. She said she saw me sleeping one day, a couple 2 3 weeks ago. I was in her guest room and she says, you were sleeping so good, you were on your stomach. She said, and I thought, man, if I can only do that again. Can you imagine that? Something so simple as laying on your stomach. You know why she can't lay on her stomach? Because she won't be able to get herself back, and they cut half her lungs, so she'll die in her sleep if she sleep on her stomach. Something we take for granted. Something that we take for. She can't chop up food or anything, comb her hair, dye her hair. Things that we take for granted every day. I'm grateful because she's on this side of the earth. You understand? So I get the opportunity to do this or watch others. We became my family is small, so we're very close anyway. So she's got the support around her, and now, and I think that's kind of helped promote me a little bit more into my voice because
Yeah.
aging can happen at any moment,
I
anytime.
know. I
50
know.
years old, but she's got a 90-year-old body.
Yeah. Yeah. We're so glad she's on this side of the earth too. And how blessed is she to have you as a sister.
Mhm.
I wanna speak again, and the fact that you had that experience in order for you to create everything you need to know about me. And while you were talking about all the things that's in it, I can't wait to get my copy, and I'm going to be filling it out for my family members. But I was also thinking, man, social workers need this in their toolbox to use with families, like taking this book and I have this, maybe if they don't give them their book, but I have this resource, I have this link, you can get it on Amazon, and sitting down with the caregiver and the client or the client themselves and sitting down and having them fill all of that out. One, being an emotional support as they're completing all of that, right? But also being a source of information and knowledge and resource to be like, oh, I don't even have this for myself. How do I get a living will? How do I create power of attorney? But this book feels very much like a social work toolkit.
It is. It is. Definitely from the brains of a social worker. There's
Yeah,
no way you could, yeah, yeah. Living will, DNR, end of life, everything. It's an assessment, a social work assessment.
it really
It's a
is.
social work
I
assessment.
want to encourage social workers who are working with families, no matter what age, to get this book and use it with their client. One, we're going to use it for ourselves first and foremost, because we can only take our client as far as we're willing to go ourselves. So, of course, we want to encourage them to use it for themselves, but then take what you've done for yourself with this book and share it with your clients and sit with them to do it with them as well.
It definitely marries your social work assessment all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
All day long.
But in a layman's term,
Layman's term.
beautiful cover. You can put it in a safe place. Done by a social worker.
Yes, yes, yes,
Hate
yes.
you and your family had to go through that experience, but so grateful that this is now a resource and a tool here for families to use for themselves. We're getting close to the end of our time together, and what I want to go back to misconceptions. And one of the things you said early, and first was talking about becoming a social worker, was we can't make money in social work. And so I'm curious, like, what are some other misconceptions you've had about the profession of social work?
Well, I mean, it is because, I mean, again, you can go as far as you want. Most business owners or people would say to you, solve a problem. My entire theory is when you call the office, fees are not discussed.
Mm,
Provide a solution, money follows. It's in that order. It's not in the first order. If you make that client feel or believe that you have solved their problem, you can pretty much quote them any amount and they'll pay for a good night's sleep.
mhm.
Okay. That's a huge misconception. Okay. So we can. All right. You don't run after it. You don't chase it. You don't chase that. What you chase is solutions. That's what you chase. You chase, how can I become a solution? I'm always educating myself. I'm always on. I myself have a mentor that I pay thousands and thousands of dollars to keep me accountable, to make sure that I'm held at a higher standard of integrity, of truth, of my belief. Okay. So we are, if people understand that we married a social worker, the social workers marry the physicians, we marry a financial advisor, we're it. We are it. We are really, really it. You're important. You are important. You're an important piece of the problem. Okay. The puzzle, should I say. Because once you're discharged, I'm going to talk in my aging population. Once they're settled, they're discharged, then what next? All the other pieces have to come together. Same thing with HIV and parenting and dialysis. Once you finish your dialysis for the day, you go home with a different set of issues that we get to carry on and help solve. So social workers are extremely important. It's a huge part of everybody's life every single day. Believe it or not, you're a social worker every day. Everybody's a social worker every day.
Everybody.
Everybody's one every single day.
We
Rather
just
you
happen
want
to
to
have
make it big.
letters behind our name.
Yeah, just don't have the letters behind your name every
Yeah,
single day. It's
yeah,
something to be proud of. It is something definitely to be proud of.
absolutely. I love that. And I'm going to quote you. I'm going to create a post and quote you on it. Provide a solution, money follows.
Money follows. Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then for you
Solve
to
the
be
problem, money follows.
named America's Solutionist for the Asian community, money's following you.
It's following me. And listen, it's following me. You know, I like to say wealth
Wealth
because
is following,
wealth
yes.
is following. Let's make wealth. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
change the money because money is the lowest of wealth. Okay. Wealth gives you options, wealth gives you opportunities. You understand? Wealth gives you that ability to be in spaces that you would not otherwise be in.
Come on.
So it's so much greater because you can have money and not be in the room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, isn't Jeff Bezos getting married this weekend, right? The lavish wedding. So I'm sure it's a couple of millionaires that would love to be there, have the money, can go to Venus, but they're not in the room. They're not in the room. They're not invited. So wealth is so much more than or so much bigger than money.
I
It's so
agree.
much bigger. Provide a solution, wealth comes.
We're gonna change it. Provide
We're gonna change it to
solution, wealth
wealth comes.
comes. Yes, I love that. I love that.
And it's always
Priscilla,
been my theory. Always
yeah,
something I've always lived by.
yeah.
You know, I don't
That's a
want your
perfect
money if
one.
I can't help you. Don't pay us if we can't help you.
Let
That's
me
just
let
the
me give
bottom
you a
line.
solution. I already know the wealth is coming. Yes, I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah.
And so we are at the end of our time together, and it's been an amazing podcast interview. I'm so glad you said yes. But I do have one final question. It is for those of us doing the work, whether as social workers, caregivers, or community members. What's one intentional step we can take today to be part of the solution for aging with care and compassion?
Once for you yourself as a caregiver, you must first care for yourself first.
Mm,
You ever been on a plane and they always say, put your mask on first before you put the mask on the person next to you? Why? Because if you're failing, if you're not giving yourself self-care, there's no way you can possibly give anyone else self-care. So to become valuable to someone else, you must become valuable to yourself. You must have self-will, self-care, self-thought. You must be first in order to give out. And how do you make yourself first? Educating, engaging, connecting. You understand? Making sure, I'll even go as far as a healthy lifestyle, making sure that you get the therapy that you need in order to come back and be a better caregiver, and in order to be a better you, a better social worker, a better professional. You must first put the mask on yourself first, then reach over and put the mask on your the person you're caring for. And then I'll say this also in closing: you don't ever want to get into caregiver overload or stress.
mm,
Oftentimes, it's a caregiver that experience the caregiver stress or overload. Put the mask on yourself first before you can save the person next to you. And don't feel guilty or bad about it because with caregiving comes a lot of guilt. A lot of guilt is associated with it. I feel bad I had to make a decision. I'm not able to give 8 hours. I need someone else to help, or I had to put mom here, or I had to put mom there. I know they didn't want it, but I can't do it. Be honest with yourself in every moment and free yourself from guilt. Free yourself from guilt every day.
because the guilt is serving no purpose at all.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's serving no
Exactly.
purpose. And I even want to just remind our social workers, y'all are doing caregiving as a living. So
As
make
a
sure you're putting your mask on first.
Put your mask on first. Then you can go back and grab and save someone else. And you
Mhm.
can be your best version. That's the only way to be your best version. Be your best version and never
Mhm.
feel guilty about it. Never feel guilty or bad about being first because you can't help the person next to you. You can't.
Yeah. So good. So good. It's been such an honor to be able to do this and share this time with you today. Thank you for
I
being on
loved
the
it. I tell you, I mean, I always hate to say goodbye, so I always say goodbye for now. I would love to come back again if we have any questions, any, you know, whatever. People have a lot of questions, and I'm sure we didn't address them in this short span. So, whatever, anytime, have me back. I would love to. I love the work you're doing. I love it. I love it. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work. Keep helping and empowering our fellow social workers. We are important, guys, girls. We are important. They can't do without us.
Thank you. And you know what? We just scratched the surface today. So
We
you
really did.
definitely will be coming back. So y'all look out for a part 2. And
Yes.
look for Princella's book, Everything You Need to Know About Me, in the podcast description box, and get a copy for yourself and get a copy for your clients. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Goddesses of Social Work podcast. We are glad you were here. If you like this episode, please come back to hear more stories of the journeys through social work, and please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. See you next time here on the Goddesses of Social Work podcast.